Hey, Marc Millan here. Thank you for letting me be a part of your day. Love getting a chance to connect with you. Today I wanted to talk about how to work with your production team. So I want to give you 3 things to kind of, think about, consider. I get a chance to work with a production team pretty much every weekend. We have events throughout the month, and there's a lot of people who work in production. There are a lot more hands, I would say, on that side of the room than there normally are on a platform. On average, I might have 8, 9, sometimes a little over that for a worship team, for a band with singers and musicians, or a production team in the room that I get to lead worship in. Sometimes we can average 15 to 20 or so people. Backstage, we have a video suite room, we have camera operators, we have switchers, we have people running lyrics, then we have lighting, we have sound for the room, we have also sound technicians for our in-ear monitors, and we also broadcast. So might look differently in your room than it does for mine, but I think the 3 points that I want to give you, I think could add value to you and your team. So let's jump right in. 3 things or 3 ideas for working with your production team. Number 1 is make sure they know that they are part of the team. I think this is huge with bringing a unified experience. You have 2 sides of the room working together, the production side, the technical side, all the equipment, all the gear, and then you have the musicians and the singers. But they need each other just as much. The musicians and the singers have to be able to deliver something great, but the equipment and the gear is what's used to express all of that artistic creativity. So they have to work together, and sometimes the production team can be led, or I would say unintentionally treated as if they're not part of the team. They are part of the team, they're extremely important. So I would say make sure you do your best to make your production team members know that they are part of the team. Everything that they do is just as important as anyone on your platform. Anyone singing, anyone playing music, anyone speaking. Those are all I would call visible roles. The production team carries more of a behind the scenes role, but they work together. There is no success without both of those things working together. So make sure they know that they are part of the team. One of the ways I do this is I introduce names. I make sure everybody on my team knows who's running our front of house sound, who's running lights. If I have someone new who's running our in-ear mixes, or who's pretty much serving our team, I make sure they know who they are. I mention them by name. I give them shout outs, I give them high fives, I include them in our huddles. Do everything you can to make sure that your production feels that they are a part of the team, because they are. It's one team, might be 2 different areas of function. I call them 2 units on our department. I say, hey, we have 2 units, but we're one team. So that's number 1, make sure they feel part of the team. Number 2, communicate your needs as early as possible. And I want to say needs/ideas. Communicate your needs and ideas as early as possible. Sometimes you may want to add a violin player, or you want to play the upright piano. You might have someone else running your tracks, and normally we keep we have a rig to run our tracks. That's on one side of the platform. Well, if I want my bass player to run it, and my bass player is located on the other side of the drummer, there's a lot of cabling and connecting and DIs that have to be rerouted to that side of the platform. So it's my responsibility, if I'm going to serve them well, to let them know, hey, by the way, I have to have someone else running tracks. Or, by the way, I'm going to add a violin player, or I'm going to add a brass section. And so what do you need from me in terms of getting that ready? Because there's not only cables, there's DI boxes, there's mic stands, then there's input signals that go not only to the in-ear monitor but also to the front of house. Then there's lighting. There's so many things for a production team to do just for one idea. So I might have the idea late. I would just encourage you, as soon as you can, Communicate your ideas and your needs, because that's one of the ways you can honor your production team and really let them know that you care about them and that they're a part of the team. So it could add a lot of pressure and tension between the musicians and the singers in production when things aren't communicated. So do your best to communicate your needs and your ideas. Number 3, I'm just gonna say it like this: work on it together. Work on it together. What is it? It could be the execution, it could be a guitar player's tone, it could be a singer's pitch, it could be a musician's skill. Whatever those things are, understand that the production team is receiving input, right? They're receiving sound, they're receiving what I would call the performance of the worship team, and then they're the ones who have to actually broadcast it. They have to support it with sound, with lighting. In our case, we have cameras, so they have to capture visual images of it. So if I have a singer who's not smiling, if I have a singer who's standing outside of their lighting spot and they're shadowing, if I have a guitar player who has a rough guitar tone, acoustic guitar player who's struggling to really hit the strings correctly, all of those things are happening on the platform. But the production team, like I said, they are supporting it, and they're the ones who are helping broadcast all that information out. So whatever the needs are, find a way to work on it together. So one of the things I like to do, I have a music director and sometimes I have a vocal director. I work with both of them to get input on how things are going. If I hear something with the band, I'm talking to my music director so that they can communicate that to that musician. Particularly, sometimes if I have a strong connection to the person, I'll just be able to tell them maybe some of the things I want to get adjusted. Same thing with the vocal director. Well, it's important because I've had situations where maybe we didn't have a vocalist who wasn't singing well into their microphone, or we had a musician who was just struggling with their tone, and then I've had kind of like a front of house engineer just get on their microphone and pretty much talk directly to that person, not having a relationship with them, not really having any equity relationally, and so it can create tension because the person receives it incorrectly and it just seems inappropriate. So a lot of times I will go up to my front of house booth and go up to my engineer and I say, what are you hearing? What do you need? And they will tell me, hey, I'm not getting enough snare. Like the snare is soft and then it's hard and I have to compress it. So you can understand the complexity of that, because a musician just might think they're playing fine, but on the other side, someone trying to mix it and get it right, they need certain things for the whole thing to work. So a lot of times I will go up to my front of house engineer and I'll just say, hey, what are you hearing? What do you need? Same thing with my lighting. Is everything good? Do you need us to change anything? So it's just one of the ways I serve them. They're there to serve us. We're there to serve everyone. So everyone serves someone is one of the terms I like to use on our team. So those are the 3 things I wanted to give you. And then I want to give you 3 encouragements that you can do. Make sure you're empowering your production team. What I mean by that is empower them to run a line check. Obviously, that comes with time. I have helped our team run effective line checks, and maybe I'll do a different video on running rehearsals on that. But those are the things you can give to someone else and empower them to lead through. So when we're doing line check and sound check, I will, because of my relationships, I'll say, hey, you ready for line check? All right, take us through it. And then I just back off and I let them run with everything they need. Oh, let me get the kick drum, let me get the bass, let me get the guitar, etc., etc. Something if we need for in-ears, I let that person run it. So that comes with relationship. Obviously, I have to give direction and instruction so that we know what the outcome is, but empower, empower, empower. I just want to encourage you to do that. Number 2, include them in as much as you can. If you guys are taking a break to go grab some food, try to get everybody together. If you're going to pray together, hey, we're gonna stop and pray, production team, why don't you join us? We'd love for you guys to come over here. If you're gonna do a huddle and talk about service details, as much as you can, include. It just helps the whole team become one team, which is my first point, which is make sure that they feel that they're a part of the team. And then the last idea is celebrate. Celebrate as much as you can, everyone on the team, not just the musicians and singers, but celebrate the mix, celebrate the lighting, celebrate everyone in production. Man, great job with that video, or great timing with the lighting. Everybody wants to do a great job whenever we're putting services together and worship services together. Everybody desires to do that, not just as singers and musicians. So you want everybody to feel like they're included, you want to empower them, and you want to celebrate them. So I hope this helps you. One of my joys of doing what I do is getting to work with production teams. I love them. I think they're brilliant. They have a unique skill set. Everything they do is so different from being a musician and singer, where the singers are preparing and we're talking to each other, we're having a great time, we get to look at each other, we get to interact, and then when we're done with our songs, we get to go back and drop off our equipment. Same thing with the musicians. Where production, if they're on the camera, man, they're on the camera by themselves the entire time of the service. They don't just have 20 minutes, they're there the whole time. Same thing with video, same thing with lighting, with sound. So they're incredibly gifted. They have a unique and very hard job. And so I would just say, as much as you can, try to apply these to build that one family, one team thing. I hope it helps you out. Until next time, from my heart to yours.